My favorite album of all time. I feel like every day I listen to this for a million times. Welcome to the Cornerbird Studio live stream. I'll be working on the same thing as I did yesterday. Just sculpting more hair. Anyway, look at this cool shit. Oh, it's so fucking cute. Look at this. Chica while climbing a slab. I'm gonna pose up Turbo Granny climbing this when it gets more populated, I guess. Also, the Gintama is holding up pretty well in this file, like with the setup and all that. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just hide the bad painting because I only paint like half of the Gintama. Okay. I'm not sure why the sparkle group is there. Let me move this. Yeah, that's better. Coffee for the day. I kind of messed up like the top part a bit because I was like pouring it and then my brain kind of like glitched out. I forgot to like lift it up higher, so I ended up dragging too much of the thing instead of like cutting through it. Like if I put let me give you an illustration. Imagine this is the cup and this is the pitcher. When you pour in a latte art, you need to start out like doing like this to stir in the base milk with the coffee to stir it up, and then when you start drawing, you start putting it down like this so that it should be easier. There's a spout. Let me see if I can add a spout. Maybe I can I do a spout like this? Maybe I can. Just need to trim this. So imagine the spot is parented to this. Yeah. So imagine the spout is like this, and then you pour it in down, and then that's kind of how you bring the white colors upwards to the surface. And then you squiggle, 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 and as the cup goes more horizontal and you reach the end, then that's when you have to bring it up here. Bring it up so that it stops. You can see like I made the mistake of putting more white in the horizontal line. But the idea is that you want to bring it up like this and then cut through like that. That's the basic idea of pouring latte art. Okay, so everything's organized. Can go back to this. Alright, learning point for the day. I'll show you my more recent favorite material for doing hair. I think just hair. I like to do like a mid 0.5% roughness and 0.5% metalness for hair. It's just a look that I prefer. You can see this is this is how it looks like without the metalness, like this, and this is with 100%. I think they are both like too much, so yeah, so far I've been liking 50%, just having a little bit of shininess, and then roughness, the same thing. It's cool to see how it looks like with different settings, but I think it is not bad, I guess. It might be dependent on color too, but I think kind of like around this shade is what I like. So yeah, I can kind of play around with it. I think the idea that I wanted was something a little bit more velvet feeling, because having too much roughness is like too matte. Like this is I'm using lip PBR mode right now, so, and then this one is like too plastic. So for a while I was trying to figure out what kind of texture that I want, and I think something like this is quite a lot better for me in the PBR mode. Thank you for the coffee. Yeah. And the way that I like to check the shapes and stuff for organic sculpting like this is I'll check that I like how it looks like in different angles. Yeah. So that when I fix another angle, I'll know whether or not I made a mistake in the direction I'm going. So I like to do this kind of like add it and then rotate around and undo, redo, because this is a 3D space, so it needs to look good at different angles. I think that's one of the main difference like between 2D and 3D when it comes to doing very organic and detailed things too. I mean, not that it's not difficult for simple stylized stuff too, but it's a bit, it feels a bit different. But that's like the main difference in like the kind of challenge that you have to do a 3D sculpt. So it kind of looks closer to what I want, but this angle is still not what I want. And sometimes different brush sizes will create different shapes, because again, like it's 3D, so when you move a thing like at the front like this, then it opens up the areas behind it, so that's how a shape can be affected too. Like you can see if I use a big brush and just push everything up, it looks quite different. Looks quite different for an object that has quite a bit of thickness and variation. And sometimes I do want that small brush to only affect the front side that I'm looking at. I like to do very mild adjustments to a specific section. Even something like this, that's a very small and specific section, and I like it like that. So like, even at this point, you can see like there's this 3D shape over here, and when I'm moving things, when I'm moving this thing, like, let's see, I'm moving, I'm pretty conscious that there is a like a 3D shape like this in my head, and maybe like something like this. So I'm pretty conscious that when I'm adjusting this section here, I'm only moving this edge and I'm not moving anything that is behind. I think it comes with practice, but over time, like as you start like looking around your 3D scene, then it will start becoming like more like I think the image in the head will become more vivid. But it's also like quite personal, I guess, like dependent on your own skill set. Because it's like some people will have, let me turn this off. Like I started out with more of like a 2D background, and like I can see like some people, they have like a good grasp of like the 3D space just from pure drawing, and I never really got that. Like I feel like my sense of my understanding for things in 3D space wasn't that great for like more complicated things. Let me see if it's fine. Yep, it's getting closer. As I start, it's the same thing of like fixing one angle and then another angle and then another angle, and then it starts getting closer and closer to like the final shape that I want for everything. And you're back to the topic of visualizing 3D. It's yeah, I think when it comes especially to anatomy and all that, like I mean I kind of think that I practice quite a lot, but then like I don't know how to practice smart, I guess. So even now my understanding for anatomy is not that great. But back when I was still only like purely drawing and painting, it was much worse. But after sculpting a few characters, I feel like when I went back to drawing again after like a long periods of time of sculpting, I realized that, let me hide this. I realized that let's fix you up. Being very delicate with the smooth brush, because I really like the way that the shapes are made, so I don't want to lose that shape. So I realized that my visual my mental image of something that I'm drawing is a lot more solid, a lot more detailed, and a lot more I guess I'll say accurate. Basically the understanding is a lot better, because like my mental image of, let's say, something like this, like imagining what is behind this is just a lot more clear. So yeah, so I would say like for something like that, it was thanks to doing a lot of 3D practice that made me more proficient in just thinking about like volumes in 3D space. Like maybe I would have gotten it if I just, I don't know, tried hard enough in learning how to draw, but maybe it would have taken more time, I guess. Trying to add some nice edges to this. It's a huge difference between like just a simple tube versus something with a little bit of edge like that. Something like this. Just matching the shape profile to the other stuff. Sometimes I also like to think about which direction I want to push. So in this case, this is a really thin mesh. So any direction of any push to like any direction will be visible. So I like to work with one axis at a time, and the way to do that is to make sure that kind of like lining up the hello W man at this here. Everyone improves over time, so hang in there. Do you recommend getting from? Yeah, that's like a really, I feel like that's quite a hard question to answer, because like personally for me, I I feel like there's so many things that can happen like everyone has their own route, and like people like to think that if they follow the exact route as someone successful, like a concept artist that they admire and all that, that it will kind of be the right path for them. But I think over time I realized that these kind of things are so personal, like to like what you like and what you're more proficient in and all that stuff. Like the sense of I was drawing a lot, and I can see a lot of people who do purely drawing, that their sense of 3D forms in like random space is really good. But I feel like I didn't cultivate that sense as well, at least in the same span of time, or even like a longer span of time. And like I felt like doing 3D, surprisingly, when I came back to 2D, my sense of form in 3D space was a lot better, because I would be doing all these simple forms. I'll be doing all these things, and it kind of practices like the visual image of like looking at something 3D space, and like just getting the practice of building up the what's that, like how something would look like correctly in 3D space like this. Like I think if I didn't sculpt Turbo Granny, I would have been kind of unsure like what the snout would look like in 3D space, if that makes sense. But after sculpting Turbo Granny here, I'm like, oh, like this kind of works. And then if I'm going to draw Turbo Granny in Procreate or something, then I have kind of like this better mental image of like, oh, I remember like my sculpt was looking like this and it was working for her snout, and then I'll transfer that visual image into whatever I'm drawing. But like I would recommend I'll recommend doing something that you really like, if that makes sense. Because doing something that you like will get you through like the hard part of just practicing a lot to get better and not giving up. Because I feel like that is the main that's like the main skill that I feel like really helped me. Let me hide this. But I'll say like for some people drawing is easier, some people sculpting is easier. For me, I like building both up at the same time. And although like I had a really long history of drawing a lot as a kid, so I don't know how much of that is, yeah, I don't know how much of that was like a really helpful thing. Also, the other thing is that something I've learned over time is that I'm trying to think about how to say it. But like when the internet came about, the kind of like the adults around would say like, oh, you know, like now with the internet, everything is so available. Like we wouldn't know all these things, like all this information. We wouldn't have all this information in hand last time before the internet and all that. And I kind of like reflected that sentiment, like, hey, like now you have everything in your fingertips. Like even now it's like, oh, you have like 3D sculpting at your fingertips, you're drawing at the fingertips. Like it's so much better than last time. But over time I realized that there is such a thing as like information overload. And that's also something that I came into realization when, like in the past, I was telling my nephews and nieces like, oh, like everything's so available now. But I feel like there's this sense of like having too many things at the beginning feels really overwhelming. For some people, I think like for me, I feel that way for myself. So I think just try to get something that you have like an instant motivation for, and just work bit by bit. I would say like I would like doing 3D and 2D at the same time, but that's also really personal. Like for me, it would be like limit what I'm doing to what I can handle and what I like, and take like small steps from there. That's like the approach that I take. And like when I think about it, it was so much more straightforward for me when I was younger, because like I didn't have access to 3D software as a kid. So like when I think about it, like after thinking about your question, like it was really straightforward for me. I didn't have any 3D sculpting to work with. Like the iPad wasn't out yet and all that stuff. And Nomad Sculpt didn't exist. So like maybe that was Maya or something, but like what kid's gonna use Maya at home? So yeah, I guess for me it was really straightforward. And I wonder whether or not if there was 3D too, if I would have felt like it was too much. But yeah, it's so hard to tell with this kind of things. But I would say like with the abundance of like really good tutorials out there, even the ZBrush YouTube channel, they release pretty good like how to use certain things, like tutorials. And yeah, although like the same thing, I feel like for people starting out, there's a thing of like having too much information. So yeah, just take things one small step at a time. Find something that you want to work with instantly, and yeah. And like there's this thing of like as I started getting better in Nomad Sculpt and 3D, suddenly like the options that I have for making art like expanded, like it was exponential. Like I can do anything in 2D, I can do anything in 3D. So which one do I choose? So that was something that I was struggling with in the past few months, which I eventually realized that the simple answer is to just not think about it too much and to just do whatever that I feel gives me a lot of enjoyment to do. Like I find more enjoyment in sculpting Turbo Granny than to draw Turbo Granny. So something like that might be helpful, maybe. Okay, let me see. I feel like the thing of following like an art school path to get better too, like it didn't work for me. And like I think it doesn't work for a lot of people too, like just because like when you think about it, there are way more people who stop making art than people who are doing it as in personal art and all that, than people doing it like as a career. Yeah, maybe the way that I say all these things is like not helpful for beginners. But I strongly feel that it is a very personal journey to figure out what will make you become better at art. Like it's like, to me, it's just too personal. But one of the things that I would say that would be universal is that the fundamentals are I'll strongly recommend like getting good at the fundamentals in both 2D and 3D. Like whether or not you decide to do 3D or 2D at like right now, like in the next few weeks. Because I mean, I recommend doing both at the same time, like just to spice things up a bit, like change the routine. Do I like this shape? Maybe I'll push this out and push this in. And push this in too. Because I think a lot of people, they don't progress because sometimes they kind of put too much personal, what's it called? Like too much ego into thinking that what they're doing is correct because art is like so personal, right? But there are certain things that like you have to do correctly. Things like anatomy, or I'll say it's like you can't I mean, like mine is not really the best example because I'm still learning, but let me think. I'm just going to do something stupid. I'm trying to spoil it, but I don't really know how to spoil it. Maybe something like this. But like some people will be like, oh, here's my sculpt, and like can you give me tips on, or can you give me critique? And then people will be like, you should get your anatomy right first. And then like for some people the comment will be like, but this is my artistic impression of a person. Like this is my style. and like the conversation doesn't go anywhere after that. And like it doesn't matter to the people giving the critique, but it just means that the person doing the sculpt is not going to learn to get better, because that person thinks that he or she has done it perfectly, and there's nothing to improve, I guess. But I feel like I see it more in drawing. Like I feel like I'm not sure, maybe because like in 3D, in some sense, there's more room for error, is it? Like you're 360 degrees more room for error or something. Oh, is it like the thing of 3D artists are more aware that they suck and they have room to grow? I'm not really sure. Does this look nice or is this too much? I guess it's nice, but this part, of course there's also this thing of like, I know that I have my own shortcomings, and so when people comment about like what I need to improve on the piece, like I'll take note of it, but I kind of wouldn't act on it immediately, and that's because like I'm pretty slow. So like I'm always like correcting every single thing, and then it's never ending, and I just never finish anything as a result. So it's always a balancing act, like how much do you take in at the current work that you're doing, and how much of it you reserve for the next time. Let me add this. And there's also something. Hello, Jupiter. Hello. There's also something that I find quite strange, that I kind of still don't really know how to wrap my head around it, I guess. Because talking to like my nephews and nieces. They're pretty young, and they're kind of at the age where I feel they shouldn't really care that much that their drawings are bad and ugly. Because I mean, when I was young and drawing, the focus was just to get better. Like I don't expect myself to get good right from the start. But like, I don't know what it is about like, is it just from other kids that they surround themselves with or something? Is it a Singapore thing where like that's why you don't really see a lot of creativity in, like, I personally feel that the creative side for like the average person is pretty lacking. And I feel like that's just from like the fact that in Singapore, like, there's such a strong emphasis in getting good in math, science, and language that you just don't really get any time to do art. Like, every adult here, I was just lucky that I really focused on drawing from really young, so my parents supported me. But if I didn't, and I didn't progress as fast as I did as a kid, because I was kind of like drawing every day, even on my homework, like my teacher will like write down on the corner of my sheet like, drawing again, ? And I'm like, I can't help it, I just like to draw. My drawings are everywhere, like on my homework. And yeah, I just kept going. I didn't stop. And like, I also have this kind of like this weird sense of like, oh, like, yeah, my drawing skills are pretty good. And then when I went into art school, I got humbled. I was like, damn, like, the level overseas is so good. Like, I didn't work hard enough. But anyway, like, I know how much I spent on drawing growing up, and my nephews and nieces are really good at sports because they started young. So like gymnasts, ballet, taekwondo, and all that, they're really good. Like, I feel like they're excelling in their like national team and all that stuff. Like, sometimes I wonder, is it just like if you start young, you can just do it? But I think they do have like some, it's like their tenacity to try and do better, and like maybe because like they have competitive spirit, and they're kind of like pushing each other to get better, like sibling rivalry and all that stuff, that they improved at a really good rate. And like something that I learned from them is that as national team athletes, or like as full-time athletes, not even just national team, you have to train like 4 hours for 6 days a week. Yeah, 4 hours every day, 6 days a week. Sometimes even more than 4 hours a day. It's quite crazy. And then it kind of reminded me of when I was drawing in the past, like as a kid, because I was very sedentary. And I think my parents felt like all these sports are really dangerous, so they didn't want me to do any of them. They find bouldering very dangerous, and I'm doing it now. But it's because I know like how to take care of myself. If I injure myself, I know how to take care of it. Like, I partially torn the tendon here, a few months ago, and I was still climbing because I knew how to. I knew how to handle it. It's fine now. It's just a bit. It's still a bit stiff because it's still. I need to get stronger at it. Yeah, it was pretty scary when this partially tore because suddenly the joint is so loose. Like I can just like push the joint like this, and then the joint would just like pop off. It's like, it was so scary. Like that was the first time that I tore something really badly, and like I was like, oh my god, this is how loose the skeleton will get without the support of tendons and ligaments like binding things together. It was so scary. But yeah, I really drew a lot as a kid. And like my nephews and nieces are quite into drawing, as a lot of kids would be, but like they're training 4 hours a day. Like they're gonna come home really tired. Like they wouldn't have, like they are training 4 hours a day every day, and like when I was a kid I was drawing like constantly all the time. I mean, I don't recall like how often I would draw every day, but I know that because I didn't do any sports, that I just had a lot of time in my hands to draw. And like I'm trying to tell them that like with drawing you also need like practice and time. Yeah, it's such a weird experience every time when like they decide that they want to draw, and then my boyfriend and I would be like, yeah, like just draw, and then they would just say like, but my drawing is ugly, and they're really adamant about it. Like they're so, yeah, they're so like certain. Like I don't know where that certainty comes from too, like because they're just like small kids. I don't understand, like where is it coming from? Is it because they're surrounded by other kids who's like, oh, my drawing sucks, or like your drawing sucks? I don't know. And we'll be always telling them like no, you just like you're going to suck when you're starting out. And then they'll be like, oh, but then but then you draw really nice, and then my drawing is ugly. And then I'll be like, yeah, of course my drawing really nice. I've been like spending so many years, and like I've been like drawing all the time, but obviously it'll become nice. And like they just don't believe that. Yeah. Like there are also some kids that like kind of like, I'll say like I was one of them, that we can learn art techniques faster than other kids. It doesn't mean anything though, because I feel like that was one of my problems, where like I got better than other kids at an early age, and then when I got older and people who put in a lot more time and effort than me to learn how to get better through like sheer effort, like I didn't know how to like get that kind of mentality because I didn't practice that. I mean, it's what I'm practicing right now, like just trying to be consistent and not stop myself from doing something. So there's this element of like kids comparing to other kids who are faster than them in learning drawing techniques. That it makes them think that they cannot get better at doing art because the stuff that they're doing it's like too ugly. And then when you're like trying to tell them that like you can, like, can't you see that you're training 4 hours a day to do like ballet or gymnastics? And like I was like, my mind would be like, I was doing the same thing with art. I was like drawing every single day as a kid. Like they just don't understand that. And then it makes me realize that like even at such a young age, like art is, people already have like some sort of weird personal assumption of like the assumption of pure talent, and that if they're not good at art immediately, that they shouldn't even try. Yeah, I mean they're still drawing and all that, it's just like it's like they will know like what they like, and when I try to show them like, oh, you like it like this, like let me show you how to draw it like that, like there's a strong resistance to that because they feel like they suck. But I think that's where like the internet is really good, because I was able to look up on like artists that I admire, and a lot of these artists would post up like how they started out like when they were like 16 or 18, and like their drawings really suck. And like it's really cool to see like how much their drawing sucks at like 16, 18 years old, like because they wouldn't have been drawing since they were really young. Like there'll be like people like engineers who decided that they want to start drawing again, and then you can see like the progression from like how they suck to how they are like way beyond and at the professional level becoming concept artists or like artists who are good in the industry. And I feel like a lot of them, they started out quite shit and then they just kept going. And because of those, because of exposing myself to those stories, that I realized that quite a lot of people can, like, pure talent is overrated, I feel, because there's so many other things that is necessary to become good at what you want to do. But then it's all like personal. Like there are many people who I've seen with pure talent and they are doing really well because they work pretty smart. Let me see. Maybe I want to split this one up. Okay, I'm going to split this up. But yeah, when it comes to art, this I feel like there's a huge sense of people projecting what they assume to be correct. and that makes it quite difficult to kind of like show them otherwise, that there's a lot more possibilities or something. Also the sense of something that I learned from my nephews and nieces, that when I try to tell them that they're really good at like the sports they're doing because they put in the effort and they train hard at it. I mean, because a lot of adults like to attribute being good at something to talent only, which I don't like. So I try to acknowledge like the efforts that they put in, but they're kids, so it just takes time. But it's kind of like, that's like where the interesting part comes in that I didn't think about before, that when they are doing something that they're good at, like let's say ballet or gymnastics, and they train so much at it from such a young age that it's like kind of very routine to them. Everything is easy, flexibility is easy, and when, like let's say if I say that I can't do ballet because my flexibility is also not like, my flexibility is like below average, which I need to work on too, then like they'll be insistent that no, like you'll be good at ballet because I can do it. And like I just find that so interesting, that the things that they find easy, they would assume that everyone else can do it, and the thing that they find difficult, which because obviously they haven't put in the time to draw and all that, they feel like it's completely impossible for them. And like, yeah, like it's, I still can't wrap my head around that. Okay, let me put this in. And I feel like it's so unique to doing art, but I'm also not really sure why. I think that's why I like I like physical exercises so much, because it's just so much more straightforward. Everything is so much more straightforward. You don't have like ego or preconceptions or assumptions to get in the way of, like, even really young kids know that if you suck at doing a move, they're just going to learn it after practicing it with their teacher, like after a few lessons. But with art, it's like so many kids feel like they can never attain something. It's so weird. Okay, let me, I think I like how this one matches up to this, so that's good. I still don't know where to put this, and I think I will stop this soon. I'm thinking I'll use this to create something. Let's try. Do I want it this way or do I want it this way? This side is quite cool. Do I want it this way? This is nice. Actually, talking out loud about these things kind of make me realize maybe the problem is like people can't visualize like how many things you have to learn, and like there are very logical and consistent steps to learning how to do art. Which like is super obvious when you're learning how to do a sport or how to, yeah, actually I'm not really sure like what the difference is. It's like people would know that they have to train 4 hours a day for 6 days a week to get better at what they're doing when it comes to sports. But I feel like there's such a disconnect with that notion when it comes to doing art, and I don't know why. And there's also the thing of like, because art is so subjective, that let's say if someone likes to draw a stick man, and then like let's say if someone like likes to draw like this, oh, it makes me want to read One Punch Man again. And then they'll be like, I don't like my drawing sucks. And then like, I can never be as good as you. And then you'd be like, oh, there are like a lot of constructive ways that you can get better at, like learning how to do the form and all that, like learning where the eye placement is, how the eyebrows are like, things like that, how the hair is drawn. And then that person is like, but then it's not my style. And then there's like where that like personal ego gets in the way, I feel. And then I'll be like so confused, like, wait, you don't like yeah, I don't know, it's just so confusing. Whereas like when it comes to exercise, it's like let's say for gymnasts, if you can't do the front tuck, then you know like the steps to train your body to be able to do a move. But like when it comes to doing art, there's so much ego like involved in that gets in the way that like like it makes it difficult for a lot of people to progress, I feel. Just because like it's not like oh, you don't know how to do a front tuck, then you just don't know how to do it. But it's more like, do you know that there is 1,000 different ways to do a front tuck? Like it doesn't exist in physical exercise. Like a front tuck is a front tuck. Like you don't do it like 1,000 different ways. And obviously you can be like more artistic and like add some variation to the move set. But when it comes to learning the basics, like a handstand, when you're learning basics of handstand, you're just going to do it right with the correct form and just do a handstand. Like there is no like, oh, there's 1 million ways to do a handstand. Like it's not like that. But with art, it's like, I feel like I'm kind of ranting this because like I find it so like annoying that they're like, yeah, there's 1 million ways to do like hair and all that, but it doesn't mean that you should skip you should discredit the basics and fundamentals just because you feel like it doesn't match the style that you're going for. Trying to add more detail to this so that I can tell whether or not I need to adjust the shape. Still don't really know what I want to do with this edge. I feel like it's taking up too much visual space here. So I do want to create some sort of gap. Just don't really know what kind of gap I want to add to this. Maybe something like this, so that it looks less like a big rectangle block there, because there are a lot of details that I need to work on. Just trying to think if it should be like this or like this. Maybe more like this. I think I'll cut this. Don't really like this shape. I think the overall silhouette looks nicer like this. I like that. This one's going this way. So this one is going like this. Then this one's going like that. This one's going like this, which kind of goes opposite of this one. So I think that's nicer than this being longer and just no clear sense of direction. And then when working with like making larger shapes, I'll use a lower percentage of dynamic topology. So maybe like this, and then smooth this out a bit. So I think this is nice. I think that's enough for today. Don't really know, like, there's this shape that I don't really like here. I like this one, but the different angles are not working out yet. So I need to figure something out. I think it's good progress. I'm going to work on a little bit more of the climbing hold. Where is it? This one. Yeah, time to chill out and make some climbing holds. Okay, let me hide this because it's starting to get a bit laggy. Wait a minute. That's you can see the lag. It's because I'm using lit PBR mode on quite a lot of things. Let's move this up here. Okay, that's a lot less laggy. So I'm just gonna do a bit before I go. I'm trying to make this one. Goodbye. I mean, do I want to keep going? Well, I'll add the bed back later, I guess. I'm not sure whether the ends are like into coffee or something, but they sense that there's some food on the table when there isn't. So don't mind them, they're just going to go around and realize that there's no food on the table and then just disappear. I realize that the ants don't come out at night. I wonder whether they go to sleep. But they're pretty active earlier in the day. And it's like, because they come in seasons, so like I'm feeling the next month they're going to disappear and a different type of ants will come in. I feel like I don't really like sculpting this with this. I'm just going to use dynamic topology. But like, I guess I wonder why they come in seasons. Like, they really don't stay on. Is it because the colony is gone? I guess I wouldn't know. Find this hole very difficult. That's about it for today. I'm gonna put it on the wall just to see how off I am, and then I'll adjust it another time. Oh my god, it's so off. So that's it for today. Yeah. Hope that you have fun with whatever art that you're doing. I think to me making art is all about having fun with the process, and I'm slowly trying to like internalize that a lot more. I feel that as like a subconscious habit, so I'm glad that it's working out, and I'm doing a lot more now than ever before. And I hope that you feel the same way, that the process of making art is the part that is the most enjoyable. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.